Plenty of time to do that while an ad runs, so the
Oh,
only
got it.
people tuning in are subscribers, and probably not them anyway. No one's ever here when it starts. But
That's fine.
yeah, feel free to start talking whenever. You guys are live.
Oh, he just muted himself.
Feel
Yep.
free to start talking whenever. You guys are live.
Oh, he just muted himself.
Feel
Oh,
free to start
I
talking
assume he
whenever. You
said,
guys are live.
Oh, he
"Go
just
for it,
muted himself.
gals."
Okay, so are we live? Okay.
Oh.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this roundtable discussion this evening. I'm Shan, and I'm surrounded by a menagerie of perfect women. And we're talking this evening about things that we experience, and we are speaking to our audience, which we assume our viewership is mostly male, because it is the way that it works. So we're talking to you guys out there, and we're talking to any women who might be listening. We got some stuff we want to talk about this evening that has to do with how we train, what we do. I got a whole list. I'm not even gonna try. But we're gonna kick it off with a particular topic, and then we're just gonna kind of go down a list and see where we end up. If there's conversation happening in the chat, I assume Ringo's gonna tell us about it, or anybody who's looking at the Twitch channel right now, which I'm not. And otherwise, how about we go around and we introduce ourselves very briefly? How about we give our names? We give them an idea of how long we're fighting, and then like a pertinent piece of fighter information. So, for example, hi, I'm Shan. I've been doing steel fighting for about 2 years, but I've been doing combat stuff since I was 17. I'm 26 now. And I own the Warlord Combat Academy alongside Mr. Brennan Miners. And then if we were to just go down the line, for me, Beth would be next.
Hey, I'm Beth Hammer. I'm in Seattle. I've been doing steel fighting for, I guess, 2 years now, except this last year didn't count because no one did anything. But, oh, wait, I should close Messenger so it doesn't do that again. I've been doing, so steel fighting for about 2 years. Other martial arts, including Eskrima and Hema sword fighting for about 6 years. And I'm a coach at Lonin, the HEMA club here in Seattle, as well as one of the coaches for it was like the sort of HMB women's team that has the Matagos, and that's the stuff. So really, like, I like to focus on coaching and hitting people with axes.
Well, that's fucking lit, dude. The next on the list would be Shoshana.
Okay. Hey, my name is Shoshana, and I am a sword and shield duelist. And I fight in all of the American leagues. And I've been doing steel for about 3.5 years. And before that, it was off and on boffer fighting. I'm out in Colorado.
Well, very cool. Yeah, you mostly train by yourself, right, Shoshana?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very admirable thing that you do to have stuck with it for so long. Hannah.
I'm Hannah. I am currently located in Portland, Oregon, and I've been fighting steel competitively for almost 5 years now. And most recently on the Matago team, I've captained the HMB women's national team, gone overseas with them 3-ish times. So yeah, I think we've been on 3 national teams, 1 captaining, and then now I'm a part of the Matagos as well.
Wow. I didn't have anything clever to say because I think you're really cool.
Thanks.
Ayden, do you want to go next?
Sure. So, hi, I'm Ayden. I am located in Dallas, Texas. I am the current captain of the Dallas Mythics. Oh God, they never let me live that one down. And I've been steel fighting for a little over 2 years now. Before that, I didn't really have any combat experience. I was a mixed martial artist and an equestrian. So this is all really new to me at 2 years old. And that's really it.
Very cool. And then I think Elyce. Is Elyce still here?
Yeah. My name is Elyce. I have been steel fighting since January of this year, so I guess I'm the newest. And I am in Dallas. I fight with the Mythics, although currently I'm injured, so I can't fight. And COVID stole my whole season, so
Well, hopefully it won't fucking do that next year. Did I leave anybody out? I tried to just go down the line, but the line changes every time we talk. I'm sorry.
Lillis.
Will you
No,
please
that's
go?
good. It's good. I made a joke about being late and being lucky earlier, so you know. My name's Lillis. I've been steel fighting for 4-ish years, which I don't believe. I had a memory pop up from 2016, so I guess at least 4 years. I've been to IMCF and BOTN a couple times, as well as fighting overseas in Ireland with some of the other ladies here, and in Mexico with some of the other ladies here. Until relatively recently, I was captain in the New York City Furies, which I gave up, which is good for my mental health. And what else? Yeah, happy to be here.
You're like the guy that hits really hard, if that means anything to you. Down here in Texas, whenever we
Anyone
talk
can
about
hit
this.
really hard.
I believe you. I totally do, and I'm working on hitting really hard. I'm just saying, like, you got there first.
Shanna got there before me.
Shanna, oh my God, can I talk about Shanna for a second? I have oh my God, Shanna gave me. So first of all, this is all said with incredible love, and I love that Shanna did this horrible thing to my body. And the horrible thing to my body that Shanna did is that she axed me right in the vagina. I guess we're here, right? I have a horrible scar. I can no longer grow hair there, and my partners, all of which are shits, like to say things like, oh, what are
Ayden, you need to mute yourself.
Oh, that's so true. My bad. I get really loud. They have horrible things to say about it. I guess I can't remember them. They're all very clever, I'm sure. But long story short, Shanna hit me so hard in the pussy that I saw God, and then I lost nationals. So I love Shanna.
Well, you just made my mom laugh.
Did you learn anything from that?
Okay, get a better cup, because to be real, I was wearing one.
Okay.
Hey, let's talk about that for 2 fucking seconds.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, but even if you don't have testicles, you need a goddamn fucking cup. Wear a cup.
Yep.
I don't want to know what Shan's. I don't want to know what Shan's wound would have looked like if they hadn't been wearing a cup, because we like looked at it and we were like, "Oh my God."
Yeah, it was a goose egg. I couldn't wear pants, dude. Sorry, we're on live television. Anyways,
it's switched. There's no nipples. We're still good.
That's true. Okay, so I've got this list. Do you guys mind if I go down the list? All right, I appreciate you. So each of these are a talking point, because I think that they're worth discussing. They're things. All of these things are things that men should hear, and so they can support their female counterparts, and they are things that women should hear so that they can feel empowered and be part of the discussion. So the thing that I wanted to talk about is training. So I started out on a team that had 3 women, one of which was Julie, who's in the chat right now. Hi, Julie. Love you very much. The other one was Ayden, who's right there, and then me. And we had no other women to train with, and we didn't start out in a really particularly strong place. So the guys fucking floored us all the time. We had to develop some pretty specific practices to like best put ourselves in the best position when fighting with the much larger men, who in our sport are already above like the bell curve of like the size of men generally. So I have some thoughts on this, but does anybody else have some thoughts that they would like to share first about how can men most effectively train with you to put you in a good place?
So I have some thoughts, but I'm also, I think, going to tag team off Beth with this one, if that's all right, because most of these thoughts I learned from Beth.
Yeah.
So I also started off, I used to train in Salt Lake City, and I was pretty much the only fighter there. So I was training alone and flying out to a lot of women's events when I could. But one thing that I learned when Beth came into the scene and started training with the Madigos is advocating for yourself and creating space for the women to train with other women. And learning how to like ask for what you need in a training session. So I'm sure Beth can give way more detailed explanation on that, but just kind of setting up and creating space for the women's team to be a women's team and not like adjacent to the men's team. We had to step away and form our own thing and really start to advocate for ourselves as the women's team, not just part of X, Y, and Z men's team.
Yeah, I remember our first event. They called us the Lady Warlords, and I threw up in my helmet.
Yeah, no.
Oh my God, I remember that. That was in Tulsa, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
I
It
think we
was-
all like side-eyed each other and we were like,
we all made eye contact, and then we all looked at Dale.
Bruh,
Uh,
if somebody calls their team the She Wolves or the She Bears ever again, I'm gonna lose it.
Well, unfortunately, Shoshana's team is the She Wolves.
Yeah, we were the first to come up with a name like that.
Right. I mean, I thought She Wolf was a term. Like,
She Wolf is a term,
Okay.
and it's because our regional males team was the Wolf Pack. So
That's
we
really
thought, and we had to come up with it last second for New World Cup 2017. So
that is
sorry.
that is how we ended up with Lady Warlords. I hear you. But
But
so for me, actually, you know what? We were gonna go to Beth after Hannah spoke, and I think that that's a great idea.
thank you. Oh, hello. We don't get dogs, but we get a catto. No, catto. It's a
Baby.
Madigo.
Hi.
Um,
Hi.
and now he's gone. Yeah, like, okay, so I literally, like, I spent 2 hours talking at Ringo about this a few months ago, and like this very topic, and I hope that like I would encourage you to watch it, or at the very least send your men folk to watch it, because like I go into a lot of detail about some of the specifics around like how to do this better, and like, you know, I think a thing that is important to not get lost in that is like there's still a tremendous amount of value that you can get from training with men, but it all needs to like be like, but like that's not the sort of bread and butter of it. And like with all training, you should train with people better than you, that your peers, and people worse than you, or newer than you. You should train with bigger, smaller, your same size, and all of these things. And all of those things are valuable, but like particularly for this women's sport that we're playing, in which like the size and like muscle density, whatever, is fundamentally different than when you're doing it with men, where you need to like, wherever you go when you learn those skills, you need to always bring it back to being able to like hone and test those skills against women, because testing those skills against men is a little is not the thing that we do. And so like even if you're in an isolated place, like making sure that like, you know, if you only have one other woman to train with, like have a study group and like once a week get together for an hour and just like go over the things that you learned in practice and try them on each other. And if you don't have at least one other woman in your time zone, like find some, like make a friend, and that you like, you know, once a quarter you find a way to travel and be someplace where you can get to a good practice and like put all those skills to the test. I mean, that was one thing for me as I was like learning to wrestle in particular, and I was wrestling like in a really good group of dudes, but like everyone was 6'1" and I am 5'3", and so like, you know, it was just an exercise in how long does it take to get squished. And then one of the first times that I actually got a chance to like wrestle with someone my size, and I destroyed them in 5 seconds, and it was like,
Yeah.
oh, apparently I am good at this. Neat. And so like having those opportunities is really important, because it like keeps everything in perspective. So
I think that's a really great point.
yeah, I mean, and it's like, again, even if you're just getting it once, you know, once a week, once a month, even once a quarter, but it still needs to happen somewhat consistently so that you can have a relevant baseline to test against.
Absolutely. I saw a hand in the chat from Lillis. Do you have something you'd like to add?
Yeah, so 3 things. One, the men on your team need to be really on board that you're not just there as a tourist. You're not just there for them to pick up. You're not just there to, you know, look at the sexy male fighters. You're there to be a fighter, and that's on them. That's not on you. 2, sometimes it's hard to do that travel, to make that commitment to go, and it's also not always feasible, but people will work with you, and it's worthwhile putting the work in to, and it's It's an international sport. If you want to make the sacrifice to go abroad, then like there is a world where you do have to sacrifice to some extent. And if that's your comfort, if that's you're spending money, like if that's all you do, then that is all you do. And I know that Hannah and I made that sacrifice in our first year going to BOTN. That was all we did that year, was we trained and we traveled to see each other so we could all fight together. But the third thing is much more about what Beth said, which is women get trained to stay up. We don't get trained to win. We get trained to not lose.
Fuck.
And you can see this all the time. Any of our BOTN fights, the USA women's team is why there is a rule in HMB that fights don't last more than 10 minutes. That's us. That's because Shanna has brought so many fights, so many single rounds. They were like 10 minutes max. It's never going to go over 10 minutes. Nobody can do 10 minutes. Well, it turns out that Shanna, who is a little bit taller than me and a little bit stronger than me, can go 10 minutes against a Finnish giant and doesn't give a shit. And will do it 3 times in a row.
Wow.
And so we're the reason that BOTN and HMB have a rule that is you cannot go more than 10 minutes in your entire fight, not just a round, because she made our fights take half an hour, because she wasn't going to give up, because she trained with Iron Phoenix and she learned not to lose.
Learning not to lose, I think, is a really important topic. And I don't want to diverge from where we're at right now, but it's part of the thing that I wanted to talk about. And teaching your female fighters, like me to the male fighters out there that will inevitably have to fight with their female fighters, teaching them not to give up is so fucking important, because the easiest thing to do, whenever I have been taught my entire life by every single authority figure who has ever brought me up that my job is to give up, this sport, I had to completely relearn that, man. And the process of relearning it felt a lot like I was getting insulted.
I'm gonna twist this a little bit on you. Yes, it's incredibly important to learn not to lose, and you have to learn that first. But then you have to learn to win.
I can buy into that. Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And so we never got taught how to win. I never got taught how to win against the dudes. Shannon never got taught how to win against the dudes. Hannah didn't. Beth didn't.
You taught how to survive.
Yeah, exactly. We got taught how to stay up.
There was so long, like with wrestling, that like it all, when I got in a good position, it feels like the dog that caught the mail truck. And it's like, oh, I'm in this, I don't know how to finish.
I never expected to get this far.
I don't know how to finish a takedown, or I don't know how to finish this chokehold, or I don't know how to finish an arm bar. Yeah.
Which is a fantastic point, which means that maybe we can talk about calibration a little bit. Because I know that whenever we begin a practice at the academy that I run, which is sounded a lot ballsier than I meant it to, we start with a couching behavior. We say, hey, men in this class who are 250 plus pounds, not specifically, but to give some context, we say, whenever a female bodied person achieves a throw on you that would work if you weren't 250 pounds, you need to give it to them, because they need to know what that even feels like. You go though.
Right. So that was also my note, but like that it's not necessarily actually about, and this is a really important thing for men to like, for their calibration, is it's not just give it to them. It's that if you are 250 pounds and you are fighting a 150 pound woman, yes, we know that you can pick them up and toss them across the room. What you can do to still make that practice relevant and important and meaningful and learning experience for you as a man person is that you focus on something very specific, and you are working on the most technical refinement of your skill, depending on how big that disparity is. Or you are working on, I am going to make sure that I'm doing something different every single time, or I have to be exactly perfect about this. Or some other things like that. Like, there are ways to not just like dummy up and go easy on the women, that like, because that's where things get weird too, because like just dummying up,
that also doesn't teach us anything.
Yeah, like you don't like, like you don't exactly, learn anything as the smaller person. And so like learning to be really specific about how you're like scaling as opposed to being easy, you know, and or looking at a technical focus to really nail to dive into, so that like throughout practice you're working on that instead of just like, you know, and it requires like a lot of self-awareness and a certain amount of shelving of your ego, and that understanding that practice is for like learning and not for showing off.
A question on that, which my challenges in this have been different from others, but I think that that leads into something really important, which is communication with your training partners.
Absolutely.
And I know that Hannah and Beth have both worked really hard. I'm sure that other people here have as well. So as a person who hasn't personally had to struggle with that, what would you guys say about communicating with your training partners when they're having a difficult time calibrating or finding a space for them alongside you?
That's a great question. I mean, I start off by just letting them know, like, hey man, friendly reminder, I'm 135 pounds, I'm 5'6". You could break me. Just don't do that. Instead, focus on this thing. The thing that Beth said was spot on for how I communicate with my partner. I was like, why don't you try this particular thing on me as if I was a big dude? Or I don't tell them what to do because they usually know way more than me, but they'll focus on a thing. I think that the struggle becomes if they get shitty, which has happened to me twice in my life. But the time that it did, I just disengaged because I had the luxury to do that. And so I would love to hear what other people have like what their problem solving techniques are whenever they don't have the luxury of going and finding a different training partner.
So I've had that experience with sparring someone much larger, much more experienced than me. And I didn't do very well with communication in the beginning. And so I had a lot of pent up like frustration about the sparring sessions, which wasn't healthy for anyone. And so the best thing I was able to communicate was about speed and pacing. And so he'd show me a move, and then he'd expect me to use that move in sparring. And he would throw the same shot over and over again, wailing on me, expecting me to use that move to block it. And finally, I just had to say, hey, let's stand side by side and let's do the move together, but at like nightmare speed until I can smooth it out and get it faster, and then let's apply it to sparring. So some people, like, they just give you something, they expect you to just go combat speed with it. And if you can communicate going very, very slow at first and then working your way up, that helped me a lot.
So it sounds like you said, like, please do drills with me. Don't just show me this thing one time and then expect me to implement it.
Exactly. Yeah. Basically turning the move more into a drilling form and then implementing it. Exactly.
Which is so easy to do if we know that's like the thing to say, right? Like, I need to do this. I need to learn through repetition. And so I need you to change your behavior.
Right. Yeah. In the beginning, I didn't get that.
And that's not an unreasonable thing for you to ask to somebody, especially somebody who's more experienced than you. That's something that everyone, not just you, but like everyone should feel empowered to do.
Yeah, sometimes it can be hard to admit that they're going too fast because it seems like their expectations of you are higher. And so you want to live up to that. But you have to be able to stand back and say, hey, this is too fast for me.
Absolutely. I go slow, learn fast. And I'm sorry I cut you off. Please.
No, you're totally fine. I was just kind of adding to that. Like, I also didn't have a great experience the first few years training with men, just because there were really very few female fighters at the time. And so there wasn't this established like band together, this is how we deal with training. But one thing that Beth taught me to do was say, like, please don't give me feedback at this time. I'm doing this drill, or I'm processing this drill, or let me try this move before offering feedback. 5 times. So it allowed me to just say, you don't need to give me feedback right this second. I am allowed space to process this, and I'm a verbal processor, and I am like, I take a minute to figure out what my body's trying to do after someone gives me verbal instruction. So having that ability to just say, no, you don't need to give me feedback right now, or this is not helpful for learning. And for the most part, people respect that. Like, occasionally I'll have to remind them, but for the most part, they're really good about just saying, yeah, do it 5 times, and then we'll talk about it and we'll take a break and discuss what was going on. So
I think I could use that, actually, to be honest with you. I
yeah,
often find
absolutely.
myself like doing a move and then being like, let me try it again. And then my instructor will be like, hold on, let's talk about what you did wrong. And what I really want to do is I want to try the move a couple more times because I'm pretty sure I could just get it.
The
Yeah.
thing.
Dude, that's 26 billion thousand %, and like we have the science to back it up. And also, you know, if you really wanted to get up in someone's face about it, be like, okay, what would you be doing in this situation? Do you think you want someone telling you right now, or do you want to try it again? Like, oh my God, you didn't like kinetically process a thing in an instant. So yeah, I mean, like getting that, like, and you know, there's also like, you know, a bunch of stuff about percentages of like 50 to 75% success rate is the optimal learning zone. Note that that's not 100%. So, you know, up to 50% of the time you're going to be like getting it wrong, but you're still learning. And that's like really, really a big deal in terms of like, no, I just need to try it again. I think like, oh, that didn't work, but I know why it didn't work. And so you make those adjustments, and that's like the thing.
So what I'm taking away from that, my bad.
I was gonna say, just as a sort of the bridge, in terms of like from a coaching perspective, as well as, you know, like, so, you know, what Shoshana is talking about in terms of like, hey, actually, I just need to like walk through this a couple times, is like the, you know, like, yes, if you're learning a new skill and you're not quite getting it, and that like, yeah, I just want to walk through it a couple times, and then the next bridge between that and just going straight into sparring is doing limitation drills. And that's a thing that like you can either ask for, or like if you're in a coaching position, like you can actually implement. Is so the next thing would be like a limitation drill where one side is trying to execute the skill and the other side is like doing one thing, like one particular set of motions over and over again, so that you can try it under pressure. And then you start freeing up both sides like step by step, and then you get to a place where now you're trying to do sparring. Or you have one, you know, we'll do this thing that I call it conveyor belt, or some people, you know, or Thunderdome sort of style of sparring, where like, you know, you do position A and position B, and then you're out, and like position A is trying to execute the skill and position B is just doing it freely. So you have one position in this rotation where you're trying to do the thing, and so you can have that sort of focus of like, I'm trying to do this specific thing, and you have these opportunities to practice it, and it takes away some of that like extra pressure of like, I have to do all of fighting good and this new thing, versus just like, okay, I'm focusing on the skill, and now I don't have to focus on the skill because now I'm in the other position, so now I can like relax. But you know, there's a bunch of ways that you can kind of add that in, and like just work through that stuff and it's not like just doing Pell drills, and it's not just like instantly learning a thing and applying it. So like there's ways to scale that and like ramp up into, you know, full application.
So we've talked about this particular thing for about 30 minutes, which is the longest I think we need to talk about any particular thing on a list of 6, which we won't get to all of them. My takeaway, and I'm going to echo what I think my takeaway is, and then I would like you guys to tell me if your takeaway is different, and then we'll move on to the next topic. Women should feel empowered to tell their male sparring partners what they need. They should also take some time to find out what that is. The male partners for their part of this equation must be able to receive that in a meaningful way, and then execute the thing that they ask, and not make a big deal about it. We have to accept and pursue the idea even that women in this sport are not tourists, and they are not people who are here to be a part of something else. They are instead here to be a part of their own thing. And in order to like get to a place where we are as respected as our male counterparts, and people want to see us fight as much as they do, we I was going to go somewhere clever with that, but I didn't get there. Ultimately, listen to your partners. Respect them for who they are and why they are there, because we're all here to grind. And communicate. Did I miss big points there, or have we really been saying those things?
You were already there somewhere clever. It's
Thank you.
as long as we work hard and act like athletes, our fights are going to be good and people are going to want to watch us.
And in order for us to be treated like athletes, and in order for us to feel like athletes, the larger half of our fighting community must also understand us to be that thing.
Yeah.
Hey, I would go a little further, even because I know you were talking about how men should be ready to receive that feedback about how we want to train. And I would go even further. Sometimes it's intimidating to ask for that feedback, especially at first. I think everybody has said some variation of something like, I feel like they have higher expectations than I can achieve, and I would be letting them down if I say, hey, can we slow down for a second? So I think we should put the impetus on people who have more experience and are more skilled to ask, and to ask every time, is this okay? Is this speed okay? Do you want to practice this a few more times? I think even if guys try to do that, that would be beneficial, and I think that would be beneficial to everybody. I mean, not just us, but especially for us. So that's it.
Yeah, I mean,
that's great.
I think that a really important thing in all of this is to just like for men to remember, or like and women to remember when they're asking for these things, that like like again, that point that I had at the beginning, which is that it's not about going easy or taking time away from your own training, and that knowing, and like if you think that the only way to learn bow hurt is to go as hard as you possibly can at every moment, you're wrong, and you're gonna get hurt, and you're gonna have less time to play this sport. And that like when you're training with, like, in the same way that like fucking Kirk from Palmetto Knights, like you can't train with him like the same way you train with Craig. Like it's like there are different sized men as well, and just like taking that extra moment to engage with your partner and think about things critically makes you a better fighter. And that it's not just like, oh, we have to go easy on the girls. It's like, hey, take an opportunity to approach things from a different perspective and work on things more critically, or work on more technical skills that you don't have an opportunity to get with when you're fighting another gorilla, because you just go like the second you get in like within 2 feet of each other. Like that's like, which is the reality of what happens. And so it's like this is like an opportunity to do things differently. Like I have a lot of my male training partners that actually like will like talk about this occasionally, of like, oh, I have to solve all these different problems when I'm fighting Beth because she's small and she's squirmy, and or like your leg, like my legs are so far away. So like Sam has had this whole for the longest time now, and it hurts, is that like if I can hit Beth in the legs, I can hit anyone in the legs. And it's like, God, ow, I'm glad you're proud of yourself. But like that's legit, and then like that also gives me, you know, as as their training partner, like a really cool way of like, I don't feel like I'm holding them back, because I know that I'm providing different opportunities and different problems to solve, and that is like such a better way of looking at this than just like, I have to be nice to the small thing, because we don't want that.
I really love that. Does anybody else have anything they want to say on this topic?
I could talk a little bit about it. I kind of wanted to hit on a point that we briefly talked about earlier, which was making space for yourself. And this is a thing that Shan and I have actually worked on repeatedly over the past couple of years, since like from the time that we have started 2 years ago to now, is that you can't wait for the guys to make space for you. You have to carve your own space. And as an introvert, and as someone who is very like wallflowery, to like be to like have the allegory there, you can't wait. You just can't. And I like, it's hard as fuck, but like, you are never going to get the kind of training that you need and the kind of training that you want if you don't speak up for yourself and you go, hey, wait a minute, like that works for you, but I'm 5 foot and 115, 120 pounds. Like, you're going to yeet me across the list. I can't do anything about that. So we need to find a way for this move to work for me that doesn't end up in that way, like that kind of thing. And you have to be willing to assert yourself in those situations and be like, just because it's working for you doesn't mean it's going to work for me. I know how my body works. I know how I learn. And if that means that I need to sit here and repeat this for 16 times because I'm a kinetic learner and that's how I memorize this, then that's what we're going to have to do. And like, please be understanding and mindful of that and don't get annoyed with me and walk off.
Word.
I think that you just brought up something really important, and it follows on from what Hannah said earlier, which is Hannah, you're an audio learner?
I'm a verbal processor, so I guess kinesthetic.
Yeah, so you're a verbal processor, and then Ayden needs to work through it physically as well. And so understanding the way that you personally learn, and I'm dyslexic, and I've known I was dyslexic since I was in first grade, and so I've had a lot of help processing how I learn and finding ways around it and finding ways that things work for me. And so
But absolutely, we should all know how we learn. And then we'll be able to communicate that succinctly and like kindly and respectfully, because the thing that we've talked a lot during this discussion is like, make space for yourself, and you absolutely should. And if you have to be mean to make space for yourself, okay, like space matters more to me than your niceness. But being able to communicate succinctly and like respectfully and cleverly the things that you need so that they will be honored is maybe the most fundamental skill that you need to learn before you can actually learn to be good at this sport.
Yeah, so like it's a really worthwhile thing to do if you're having trouble with your team, whether they're male or female or non-binary. Like, it's really important to think about how you need information delivered to you in order to process it, to make you understand and make you able to do the work. So I know that we spent a lot of time focusing on the external. We spent a lot of time focusing on how we can express the internal to the external. But I also think that everybody needs to, no matter who you are, even if you, like me, have had help understanding your learning processes since you were in first grade, you should spend the time thinking about how, in this context, you need to process the information that you are given, because it'll make you a better student, it'll make you a better teacher, it'll make you a better teammate.
Okay, well, that sounds good. Guys, I'm ready to wrap this topic up. Are y'all cool with that? Lit. I'm going to skip the next one because it's also mine and I've done enough. The next one down is, so Catherine mentioned talking about armor. I think this is a great idea because I think that women have a kind of unique experience buying and obtaining armor. So gals, how about we spend some time talking about like where we got our kits from? I know that Catherine says that she's actually done some, actually, is Catherine here?
No, Catherine's not here. She'll be able to be here on Wednesday.
Okay, well, she can talk about her cool blacksmith stuff then. But like briefly, I'd like to talk about, like, I got my shit from Medieval Extreme, and that's been really good for me, and would recommend that to other people. I'm sure that you guys have similar experiences with other things.
I also made half my stuff, so
that's pretty lit. Do you recommend that to women?
So if you have access to certain, like, there's a few basic levels of like equipment that makes a big difference in terms of that being an enjoyable experience. And the big one is I think it's a Whitney shear. So basically,
we got one.
Yeah,
it cuts metal.
If you have the giant scissors, we know Beverly shear, and a Whitney punch. But the metal hole punch you can get on Amazon for like not that much money. But if you have a hole punch, giant pair of scissors and an angle grinder, a stump and a hammer, you can do most of the work involved in making a brigandine for yourself, and then a few other pieces of material. And like, yeah, definitely recommend it. You can put a lot of yeah, sorry, I got distracted by the chat. Yes, I do have more time than money. But like, but that's kind of the thing, is like it's a trade-off. And I had like sort of a chat at the beginning of this my armor process of like, guys, don't let me spend $3,000 worth of time on this. And it was surprisingly, like, it's not like easy, but like I don't think it's $3,000 worth of time to put together your own kit. But you know, it's definitely not like quick. But there's, I mean, and then there's some, but the one thing that I do think is really valuable about it is understand, like, you have a really deep understanding of now how some stuff works and how metal moves together. And then if you end up getting things in the future, you can modify things with more confidence. And then that's a, like, maybe the biggest takeaway, you know, for people that maybe you're going to try to, you know, like, it's easier to just purchase things, is just like, and I've had this with HEMA stuff as well, which is like, at the end of the day, it's you making it in your basement versus someone else making it in their basement. So it's not like it's like this really like high tech piece of equipment that you can actually only produce if you have like all these manufacturing tools. So like, if you get something and something's a little off, like, be confident that like you can just, like, it's okay, you can do something, you can fuck with it, and like, you're not gonna like inherently damage the components to a degree to which it's going to be unsafe. Like, it's pieces of metal, it's piece of the leather, it's mostly pieces of metal and rivets. And if you can do a rivet, you can fix just about anything. And if it's cracked, you need a new piece regardless. So beyond that, adjust things, angle grind things, add pieces, take pieces away. Like, it's just someone in a basement in Russia versus someone in a basement in you. So
you don't even have to be confident. You can just cut stuff off, whether you know if it's going to work or not. Just do it.
Yeah.
Experiment. What a time to be alive, right before
Yeah.
a tournament.
Honestly,
Don't do that.
I mean, what tournament? Mostly, it's COVID. Go learn to be a blacksmith.
Exactly. So go confidently or semi-confidently in that direction and modify your kit.
Absolutely. So, have you guys we're talking in the chat like in real time about stuff we want to talk about out loud. The most recent thing is like armor, where you got it from, modifications that you have had to made that is a function of your female frame. I got my arms from Kyle Harris. Those are really cool. They're articulated. They're my first set of articulated arms. I can actually hold myself in a position way longer now because if I get my arms just right like this, I can like make the rivets bear load, which makes me hella strong. Which is not a modification. I just think it's neat. Please.
Well, I mean, it's not, but it is, because Cal did it for you.
Okay. Fair.
Kyle Harris we're all American. I personally like to support American manufacturers where I can, and Kyle is one of the best American manufacturers of armor that you can find. His prices are good and his quality is phenomenal. His wait list is pretty long right now. But when you get it, it is 100% what you want. And he's really good for communicating. He also understands that women are small, or that some people are small, regardless of your gender. Like, you might find small people. So
he has a small farm lady that he gets to help test things that he can't fit his giant man hands in. So
like, the first pair of gauntlets I ever had that fit were from Kyle Harris. Like, and that's a big thing. If you're trying to swing a weapon, having gauntlets that fit makes a huge difference. And I sent him my measurements and I was like, I know you're not going to believe this, but I've got tiny carny hands. And he was like, no, it's fine. I believe you. I'm going to just make them for your tiny hands. It's okay. And I was like, are you sure? And he was like, no, seriously, stop messaging me. It's fine. So like, you know, finding somebody who can communicate effectively with and who believes that you're small is really important, and who believes in your dimensions, no matter who you are, even if you're a dude or like a freaking giant. How many times have we had freaking giants who probably get armor that's got giant gaps in it, or like doesn't fit or whatever, because they're like, I guess Americans can't possibly be that big. They must have measured wrong. Or they're wearing a gambeson that's 4 inches thick. And it's like, no, they're just that big. So we're in a place now where people do understand smaller dimensions better than they have in the past. There are a lot of Russians who will make your armor for you, who understand that women fight now. HMB put out a thing today that was like, did you know women fight?
That was pretty cool.
It was super cool, but also like, we all know women
I
fight.
did know that. I assume we're not the target audience. Ayden had some thoughts.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it cool if I let Ayden say some things?
Yeah, totally.
Thanks. Ayden, please.
Actually, it's kind of cool that I'm piggybacking off of Lillis, because a lot of the things that they were saying, I have had problems with and like experiences with, and like the tiny mitts thing. I have been in this sport 2 years, and I got my first pair of fitting gauntlets last week.
Yo, if we're ever at the same event, I'll let you borrow my grutters if you don't already have them. So like,
I got new ones from Medieval Extreme. I sent him pictures of my tiny paws, and I was like,
right now.
my dude, please remember that I have tiny paws. Like, I've worked with him before, and he made things too big, and we kind of like went back and forth. And this time he was like, I understand that you are small. And I was like, yes, I am small. And he was like, okay, we got this. And they came in and they're beautiful, and they're like this big. But like, honestly, it's such a big deal to be able to find an armor that fits you and like understands your size. I did get arms from Kyle, and I actually had to send them back because he made them too big, and he was great about it. But you need to find someone that understands that when you say your wrist is like 7 centimeters in circumference, your wrist is actually 7 centimeters in circumference, and it's not just like something funky going on. And so I just wanted to kind of like hop in and be like, yes, Lillis's points are important.
They are. I got my brig, and I think Ayden got her brig, and a lot of people many women on our team got our brigs from Parabanos. I don't know if you guys ordered from him, but he made a brig that fit me on the first try, and he made a brig that fits Ayden on the first try. So that's pretty
people
cool.
are figuring it out now. It's really great. The first time I fought, how many people here fought in loner kit for their first time?
Yeah, everybody.
My first loner kit was for a man my same height, but who weighed 100 pounds more than me.
Yep.
So I looked like a trash can.
Yep. God, I never thought I'd look hot in armor. I'm so glad I was wrong.
And everyone was like, you're gonna have a really hard time finding stuff. Maybe you should think about, and at this time actually, Sam, who Beth made her armor with, was in New York, and he was like, you should just make your own armor. But I have no time in my life.
That's real.
So I ordered, and I was very lucky, and I think that I was on the very early edge. But also, like, can we talk for 2 seconds about melee kit versus dueling kit? Because
yes, we can.
I don't know shit about dueling kit.
Yeah. So I think Shoshana would be a great person to talk about this.
All right. So there are definitely some big differences between melee kits and dueling kits, and that's all about coverage and the gauge of the metal. And so I had Gutfran, Adrian Frankowski from Poland, do my dueling kit from some pretty great recommendations, and it's come in, and I'm pointing it right now. You can't see my floor, but it is absolute chaos because I'm trying to figure out armor points. But
I'm fangirling really, really fucking hard over here about your kit, because Gutfran is like, so like, we had a Polish dude come and fight with us for a summer, and he had all Gutfran stuff, and we were like, what is this magic?
It's excellent. So the coverage is like, your the front half of your body, basically. So my thighs, my shins, the back isn't really covered. His gauntlets are amazing. So gauntlets is one of the big differences you're going to track between dueling and melee, because you need a bunch of wrist mobility. But in order to get that wrist mobility, you have to sacrifice coverage. The gauntlets I have from Gutfron have a leather bell. And so the bell I'm referring to is the part around the wrist. I have full mobility as if I'm not wearing a gauntlet at all. And another important thing about dueling gauntlets is that no metal should actually be touching the handle of your weapon.
Why?
Because you want to have just your flesh with whatever cloth or wool covering you have touching your handle to get that full articulation.
Yeah.
If you have metal, then it's going to inhibit that range of motion.
I know that Ringo has turned his video off, but Ringo is making some incredibly focused faces for the rest of us, and I think that anyone watching this can probably tell everybody here is like, tell us more.
I want to see the kit, but I don't want to like make a big deal about it on national TV, you know. She's gonna do it.
I do want to make a big deal out of it. Sorry.
Okay.
I was trying to be.
Lit.
Okay, so now that I'm using it, this is my shoulder. It's just this teardrop shape.
Oh, I love her.
And
I
then
love little shoulders. They're so
yes, it's just these wee shoulders. And then this arm, it can detach. The upper arm that I'm trading this for is made by another armorer, and these are going to be the upper arms.
That's your rear brace?
Yeah. So that'll
what the
just
fuck?
yeah.
Cool.
So the kit weighs a whole lot less now. And another thing you want to change from melee kit to dueling kit is normally you get a gambeson with 2 layers of wool batting. Just go to a single layer for dueling. You want your gambeson to be super thin. When you're in duels for arming swords, buckler or shield, you can go a lot lighter. Long sword, you step it up a bit, and then polearm, I'd say you'd be pretty close to a melee kit at that point.
Just wear a melee kit.
Do you wear different helms? And is there a benefit to that?
Yes. So the helm that I wear for duels, I would never wear into a melee. And I was lucky because I was gifted that when I was in Ukraine for IMCF 2019. It was night and day. It's a lot lighter. The helm I had for melee, I hate that helm because it doesn't even match my Kyle Harris kit at all. It's super ugly. It weighs like 16 pounds. And my dueling helmet weighs about half that.
I want an 8-pound helmet.
Yeah.
Not a 12-pound helmet. Stop that.
Can we talk for 2 seconds about female body sizes and kit? Because not just in a geometric, here's how big your armor is, but also in a how much we carry way. My first kit was like one half my body weight.
Oh, I think mine might still be. I'm 135. My kit is easily 60.
Yeah, right? My kit is currently still over a third of my body weight.
We are definitely carrying proportionally more.
Yeah.
My
and
my
so
kit
when
is
you're
exactly.
when you're talking, I'm sorry, say it.
No, sorry, Lillis. I was just gonna say my kit is exactly half my body weight.
Yeah,
right.
do
This is a
something
common
about that.
experience.
Fix that. Fix it.
How do we, okay, so here's the question. Because Lillis, sorry, first of all, Ayden, okay, good, she muted herself. One, how do we fix it? What needs to be true about women's kit in order for it to like look like men's stuff? And what needs to be true about women's arms, which is like fighting swords, in order for us not to hurt each other and kill ourselves? Like what do we just need? Does everything just need to go fucking down?
Titanium.
Oh, that'd be great, but not everybody could afford titanium.
Yeah, but you genuinely, you need to put the it sucks. Put the money into it.
Okay, the answer is if you want to compete at the highest level of play, you have to get titanium.
Also,
that's valid.
I mean, that's one of the places where so if you don't want to take the time to make your whole brig, that's rough. These ones,
rear braces.
It's you can bend it with your goddamn hands. Get some thin titanium and make those. There's some weight you can cut. Thighs you can are also I made my thighs. I kind of made my greaves, but kind of have some good machine help for that. So like I wouldn't actually, I would just spend the money on greaves. But like,
So I think that there's a complicated situation happening, right? Where one, off-the-shelf stuff is not fitted to female bodies. 2, it costs time to make your own armor. 3, it costs knowledge to make your own armor, which people do not have about female bodies.
And it takes
often, in
confidence,
most contexts.
which I think is one of the largest limiters.
And
You
so
gotta decide to do it.
you end up in this really complicated situation as a woman where like you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, unless you're in a very specific place. Now, here's one thing. We have resources now. There's a bigger community. Beth, Catherine, and Sam have patterns that work effectively for women, and they know what the materials you need are. They know what the tools you need are. They know what the time roughly and the effort roughly, and can help people. And I'm not volunteering their time or labor, but also I know that they'll give you as much as is reasonable before, you know, they damage themselves or their time or labor, right? Is that fair, Beth?
yeah,
Okay.
at the very least, we can send you a picture of the inside. Like,
Right. And that's a huge, huge step in the right direction. And also, you know what? They can probably tell you where to buy your titanium. They can tell you where to buy your tools. They can tell you all these things. And that just takes your own time. That's all great. But then there are other problems that arise where money comes into it, and off-the-shelf stuff is often cheaper when you do the fucking geometric equation to figure out about time versus money.
Right.
And people might not encourage you to explore your own options, which again is another training issue. Like it's the same issue, but with armor.
So
Yeah.
a lot of the guys on our team, especially when in this last like 11 months, I was talking to them about, hey, I love doing this. I'd love to buy my armor. What should I do? And they said, you know, Elyce, you're 135 pounds. You don't need a steel kit. Just buy titanium. Women don't hit that hard in melees.
so that's bullshit, but also titanium is fine. Like, and if you were concerned for some safety bits, like add steel for your spine.
Or
Well,
add Gambeson.
I mean, so we do a lot of stuff because I've been buying a kit. So right now, like 80% of my kit is titanium, except for my greaves, which are a piece of stainless steel that are way too long, because as far as I can tell, any piece of armor that that we find anywhere is either going to be way too big or way too long or both. And we're going to
Your
have to
greaves are always going to be way too long. No matter who you are, no matter where you are, you're going to buy them for your shin size, and they're going to turn up and they're going to be too long.
We have a couple of new femmes on our team that actually did get greaves that fit, but on the whole, like shorties like Elyce and I, who are just around the same height, like Elyce's armor comes in and is too long and too big, and my armor comes in and is too long and too big.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of circles around to a point that you were making earlier, in that you really should take the time and the knowledge to invest in knowing how to modify your own kit. Or making best friends and cookies for the guys on your team that know how to modify your kit.
So one thing, this is for every human watching this video, learn how to fucking rivet.
Word.
If you don't know how to rivet, you're a fucking burden to your team.
It's true. If you have to ask for your homie to rivet your shit every time you bust one, you're rude. Learn how to rivet.
Like,
I think it's one of the first things we teach every person on our team. Both.
Yeah,
I do it as like an
great.
induction thing. I'm like, hey dude, you ever set a rivet before? And then I like pull them in
like
the
this
back
is
and make it
absurd,
really
right?
cool.
Like, why we got to be Boy Scouts? But like, we kind of do. You need to learn how to tie a square knot, and you need to learn how to set a rivet. Like,
Word.
sorry.
So we've talked about armor for a little bit now, and if I were to parse down this discussion into a useful axiom to take away, it would be really similar to the first axiom that I expressed whenever I was trying to be clever after the first point, and it is learn how to communicate, but this time it is and learn what you want. And this time, what that means is spend lots of time figuring out what kind of armor you want. Well, we didn't actually say that, so I'm not going to say that. But learn how to talk to your armorer. Find the armorer that works for you. Find the therapist that works for you. Find the armorer that works for you. And learn how to effectively convey the necessity of your smallness. Because even though we have had lots and lots of strides that have been made in the past several years, we still receive wrists that can fit, or arms that can fit both of our wrists in them. So make sure that you speak to your experiences to your armorer succinctly and in a way that they can understand it. And don't fall into that trap where you're like, maybe I should tell him one more time that my hands are really that small. No, just do it. Just tell him one more time. It can't hurt. And
Hey,
otherwise,
Shoshana, I've
please
got a
do.
question for you. Your dueling helm you don't want to wear in melees. Is that what are the specs on it?
It's made from 2mm steel, and I wouldn't want to wear
No,
that.
no, that's totally fair. I think that there's an attitude in the it's complicated. In general, people with female bodies don't hit as hard as people with male bodies, and I think we can get away with smaller armor and less robust helms, which I think would help a lot with a lot of the awkwardness of what looks like
I'm bobbleheading out there, man.
In women's fights. But like the difference between 3.5 and 3 versus 3.5 and 2 is
Big.
different.
I think we probably don't need more than 2.5 for a melee, honestly.
I think you're probably right. I'm not. That's not doctor's orders.
Oh yeah, we don't know anything.
Personally proved that wrong. Just FYI. It is my personal goal to like just single-handedly make everyone wear thicker armor. But that's me.
I think actually, I know it's not on our list, so I don't know if we really want to dive into it, and it's also a conversation that hasn't been solved by the NFL, so we're not going to solve it.
Okay, I have a feeling. What are you gonna say, Lillis?
Well, how do we deal with concussions better?
Oh wow, that's not what I thought you'd say at all. God, that's way easier.
I think that there's some twofold is like just making sure that like actually you don't like part of having thicker helmets, like the part of of what it does is dampens impact and the straight impact from like an axe to your skull, like that like cracks your skull, and then what you get the concussion from is it slashing your brain. So having a heavier helmet is what doesn't make your brain slosh. So in melees, like I don't like that's I'm kind of joking about like I want to personally make everyone wear thicker helmets, but that's like really legit. And then the second thing is that the way we train is like all the concussions that I have encountered, like fortunately I have not managed to get any personally, but the ones that I have witnessed happen, 100% of them happened in training. And that's like being really intentional and really smart, and finding ways to do better, like semi full contact stuff and soft kit stuff, so that you can get the bulk of your your training in a very safe for your brain way, and then really limiting the stuff that you do in full kit, which we have to do some stuff in full kit that is unavoidable, but there's ways to do it safely and ways to do it really intentionally, and being smart about that.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off of that. We've recently been having training seminars with Colin and Craig from Porto and Phoenix. And one of the things that they've really tried to ingrain in us is that there is 99% of the time almost no reason for you to go 100% in practice all the time. You're just going to injure your teammates, you're just going to injure yourself, and then you're going to be out for 6 months because of a training injury. And you need to find ways to train that isn't going to hurt yourself or your teammates. And that might be controversial, but I think it's true, honestly.
So to kind of circle, oh, sorry.
I think you were next. Go for it.
Hannah,
go.
your video's also going.
I miss you.
Oh,
Sorry,
I've still
my
got
internet.
Hannah's video.
Yeah, my internet connection's really bad right now. Kind of circling all the way back around to what we were talking about when asking for what you need from a training partner. I've had 2 really bad concussions doing this sport, and all of them were from training with men where I didn't ask for what I needed, and also they were going balls to the walls when it wasn't necessary, and they were trying to be like, we're gonna beat on the girl, or be the man of the situation, or whatever shit they wanted to do in that case. And the other time was from not having my helmet padded correctly after a concussion. So I had 2 concussions within 2 months of each other. And the first one was because I was training with some guys and I got thrown around a little too hard and hit my head on the ground. I know Shan mentioned breaking falls. I did not do that. And then right after that, I was at another training camp and I didn't repad my helm in between concussions. And I received like another micro concussion. And at that point, we were a month out from Battle of the Nations and I was captaining the team and our team was pretty sparse. So I wasn't going to, there was really nowhere for me to go at that point. And that was a really dangerous position that I put myself in and also my teammates. So always repad your helmet after you take a heavy hit like that or a heavy fall would be my suggestion. And since then I've worn it, like Beth said, I've worn a heavier helmet. I've switched helms. And I always now try to repad after big tournaments where I've taken a lot of hits, especially multiple day tournaments. I check my chin strap, I check my padding, just because the last 2 that I got were really fucking scary and took me about, I think Lillis and I talked about, it took me about a full year to recover from that to where we were seeing noticeable difference in like retention when I was training and fighting again.
It
So
was a lot.
Fuck, dude.
yeah, it was not fun. I don't recommend.
I've got a question for the group.
Can I talk about break falls for 2 seconds and then you ask the question?
That's my fucking question, is how do we make this, people coming into the sport, how do we protect them?
So my answer is probably not the answer that's going to be useful for a bunch of people because I have the luxury that I get to like teach classes in a facility.
No, I think break falls are absolutely the answer.
Well, they are completely, but I specifically teach break falls. We have grappling classes on Tuesdays and on Thursdays, and we cover grappling in every other class because you can't do armored combat without it. And whenever we start, like the first thing we do in class is we do break falls forward, break falls backwards, break falls rolling. We do all the tumbling warm-ups that you should do in order not to injure yourselves in gymnastics, because that's what fucking grappling is, y'all. It's gymnastics. So like we have mats, and so I think that this requires mats. But like teaching people to break, okay, then you do it in the fucking dirt. I don't give a shit. But teach people to break fall.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to piggyback off of that. So we do have a couple of luxuries in Dallas in that we have an indoor facility and we have mats. But coming from an equestrian background where the first thing that you learn when you learn to ride is how to fucking fall off the horse and then get back up and do it so that you don't injure yourself and so that you don't injure the horse, is just like this sport. Like the first thing you have to do is learn how to fall. The first thing you have to do is learn how to fall in armor. And learn how to fall when you get thrown. And you don't need mats or a facility to do that. You can use dirt piles. You can use sand. Sand is probably a better medium. Go practice in a fucking volleyball court. Like, if you tell me where you are, DM me and I will find you a location for you to go practice in. Like, you can just go do it. You can also rent out gymnastics facilities because they usually don't have classes when a lot of us want to train because they handle like kids and stuff like that. You can go to trampoline parks and practice in the trampoline parks and learn how to like roll and fall on those really soft, squishy surfaces. There's tons of options, but you have to learn how to fall right. As Shan can tell you, having broken several things, not falling properly.
My big one is rugby. Any rugby drill. The first thing they teach you in rugby to just fall on grass or mud or ice pack is how to fall properly. So you can look up rugby drills no matter who you are and no matter where you are, and you can go figure out how to do them anywhere that there is space for you to cross your arms and fall over.
Yeah, we also get a lot of our falling drills from judo, and you can find judo facilities pretty much anywhere.
I think that I always do as a coach is just like whenever you get a new person, ask about their athletic physical background. Like one, it will tell you if they literally know nothing or if they played hockey. Because if they played hockey, you don't actually need to teach them much of anything. But like, or if they did weightlifting and like now you definitely need to teach them how to do falling, but you have also now a verbal language. Like this is the thing with Hannah. There's been a ton of places where I've been like working on wrestling maneuvers with her, and it's like, okay, do a snatch, like do the thing for a snatch, like, or get positioned for, you know, these lifts. And like when you like as a coach, knowing that athletic background gives you a whole common language ground, like, or common ground of language to like talk to them about, and like know what they're probably capable of, or any of these things. It's also like, hey, yo, sword nerds, learn about the ball sports, because it gives you a way to talk to new people.
Also, like, goodness, it makes you a better team player. Who knew?
Yeah. Also, ball sports are like, I know that technically our sport's way older, but like functionally their sports are way older. Like
our sport is only arguably way older.
Yeah, exactly.
People have been murdering people for longer.
That's pretty. There's some. And also ball sports are fun. But fuck.
It's okay. The thread of conversation has moved from armor, and we've kind of just begun talking about things that we think are important, which is very valid because they're important. So I want to kind of check in. It's 9:42. Well, for me, it's 9:42. That means that we're coming up on an hour and a half of conversation. God once told me personally that meetings should be no longer than an hour. What do you guys feel? I think that we could probably spend the next 15 minutes or so wrapping this up.
I think if we're not careful, we could probably spend days talking about this.
I want to avoid that.
This is probably a good place to kind of try and wrap up, and then we can continue the conversation Wednesday. And I mean, like, if everybody likes these kinds of things, like, we could just keep doing them. But like you and I know, we could talk about this for days.
I do know that. Okay. Well, I don't have like a closing statement or anything. I would like to give everybody the opportunity to say the stuff that is most important to them, given that the people will probably not stop listening at this point in the video. So you got a bunch of guys listening to you and a bunch of women who probably look up to you in some capacity. What do you want to pass along before we break? I'm thinking about it too.
I mean, I already know.
Go then.
Yeah, stop giving that girl you've got a crush on your biggest, hardest hitting weapon. And being like, yo, you're gonna kill with this, because that person is probably smaller than you and can't swing it as hard as you, and is just gonna look like an idiot and like get it stuck in the ground and get pushed over. And then she's gonna not take your advice anymore, and nor should she, because you clearly don't understand what is going on with female body people.
Yeah.
So instead, go do a physics lesson. And find her a weapon that
buy her a nice thin Fabry, and then I guarantee.
Yeah, exactly. Find a Fabry or a Tilco or something that is light and that they like, and you know, buy it for them or something.
Or something. I think that's great. My big take, so the thing that I would want to tell the people listening, specifically the female-bodied people, so I started off this sport at 119 pounds, coming off a real fucky eating disorder, and I'm 135 with muscle now. And the only reason I got there is because I went to the fucking gym. So if you think that you, as a female-bodied person, can participate in this sport without going to the gym and lifting heavy, like you're gonna, rather than spend the time you must in order to realize that you were foolish, just go to the gym. Get a personal trainer if you can afford one. If you can't afford a personal trainer, I guarantee that there's somebody who self-identifies as one inside your steel fighting group. And like go on a fucking regimen. Get there. Like your body is your tool. You've been sculpting it your entire life because society told you to. Keep that up, and like now get big. And then you will flourish. It does not happen the other way around. You do not get big, but you do not get good before you can pick up the sword for a long time. And this motion right here, which is how you hold your fucking falchion, gets really exhausting after 3 seconds, let alone for the 1 minute that you're expected for a duel. So my big takeaway is go to the gym.
I would add a caveat to that. I'm sorry, Shan.
It's fine. You like those.
I do. If you want to be good at this sport, you probably need to go to the gym. But if you just want to swing and duel and like be part of the community but not go internationally and not win nationals, then that's not a necessity. Like if you want to be serious about this sport, yeah, you need to do some lifting, but I don't think that like telling every person who's small and like needs to be big, like that they need to lift.
Everybody gets to pick their own engagement level, but if you want to succeed, then I think you need to go to the gym.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take a little bit of issue with that, and I think that if you want to do a light, friendly, like non-highly athletic sport, like I love you all, but go do HEMA.
I'd rather have them here.
I really enjoy HEMA.
I want more bodies in my sport.
Like,
and if they're here putting the armor on, I can convince them. If they're not here putting the armor on, I've got nothing to work with.
Yeah, I mean, like, just literally, like, you will have a nicer time if you lift. Like, just wearing armor is more physically taxing than just the average body off the street, like, is capable of handling. You need to, like, this is a highly athletic sport, just literally wearing the gear. So play that sport and be, you don't have to go international. You don't have to, like, make this your whole life, but, like, you will have a nicer time doing, like, there's easier ways to do swords if you don't want to put the work in.
That's fair, but I maintain that, well, kind of. I'm actually kind of on Ayden's side here. We need to lower the bar for entry for women in this sport. And if that means allowing them a space to suck a little bit so that they can look at the people that they could become, I'm fine with that. Like the people do not strive towards something unless there is an example, and they cannot perceive an example if they are not in the community.
Quick thought. People who put on armor, okay, right. So there are people in the world. There are people who want to put on armor. After those people put on armor, a certain section of them want to fight in armor. And then a certain section of those people who want to fight in armor want to fight regularly in armor, and then a certain section of those want to fight at a high level in armor. What you guys are arguing about is, like, people who are already in armor. That's already a win. Everybody should be given the opportunity to get in armor and decide where they want to be further on that spectrum.
Right.
And then at that point, like, yeah, you probably gotta fucking lift to like go and do some hardcore shit.
Word.
And, like, also, like, you don't have to lift if you just want to fucking beer league it and just wear armor for the weekend. You're gonna be more fit regardless.
Yep, you get a sweet pump just from wearing it.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, what I was trying to point out is, like, there's a big argument in the community right now about beer league versus sport league and, like, the differences. And I think at this point, the women's just needs to be open to the fact that, like, female-bodied people want to get into armor, and let them choose from there what they want to do. If they want to go big and they want to go international, then, like, follow Shan's advice and go lift. It's made a huge difference for me at 5 foot, and, like, the massive changes that have happened because I am lifting versus someone who is my size and doesn't lift gets punted.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of like, we're a small community right now. The important thing is just encouragement. And at the end of the day, when the arguments are happening between beer league and sport league, those differences are so fucking minute in a lot of ways
Can we
because we're so small anyway.
can we do this?
That
Can we do this Wednesday? Can we do this Wednesday?
Yeah, we can do this Wednesday. I recognize
Thank
this is a
you.
compelling
Sorry,
topic.
Ringo, we're devolving.
Okay.
I mean, like, you guys were like, we want to end, and then you're like, you all want to go on this. So
it's
unless
true.
either do this, like, do it
No, I have a
or
date.
end. Okay, well
I
then,
love you all.
then let's do it Wednesday, please. Thank
Okay.
you. Sorry.
So I'm comfortable rounding off that point. I think it's a great idea
Sorry.
to do it Wednesday. Does anybody else have junk they want to say before we sign off for the evening?
I want to say something, I guess specifically to like the female-bodied people and whoever the people are that want to compete in the women's league, because you can see how brutal the sport is from the point of view of like you'll see some like Battle of the Nations shit, right? And the guys are just hacking at each other, and maybe it's really exciting but maybe a little scary and you don't know if you really want to go for it. Just fucking go for it. Seriously.
Yeah.
Hop on to look up Armored Combat, find the closest team that you can find, but at the same time, if the closest team to you doesn't have any women on it, find a woman to talk to, or preferably a whole host of them, because there are several online armored women and female-bodied competitors who have communities where we talk about specific issues that we face, because there are a lot of unique things that we have that I think the community at large maybe doesn't deal with so regularly. And I think that that's something that it feels like more of a safe space you can talk about. And as you start out, there are things that you may not feel comfortable bringing up with the dudes that you may feel comfortable talking about in those online spaces or in person. It doesn't have to be online. I think just feeling comfortable communicating, like showing up and putting on armor and fighting is like the best thing. That's the thing we all fell in love with. That's hitting the shit out of each other is what we fell in love with. But having that community, I think, is really important too, and almost as important.
Cool. I think that's super valid. Anybody else got a thing?
Yeah, I guess my sign off is that I'm really thankful for the women's community in Armored Combat, and I'm still here because of all of the women in Armored Combat that I get to see at all the tournaments, you guys. And anyone watching that's kind of interested, I really encourage you to come in and join, because the community is amazing and what makes it for me.
Word. One other person? I thought I heard somebody earlier. No? Okay, well, I think that the biggest takeaway for me was that we should engage one another, learn from one another, seek out other women, value their experiences, and take something from them, which is kind of what this whole roundtable is about. Learn how to communicate your needs, and learn how to communicate them in a way, learn what your needs are and learn how to communicate them in a way that sees those needs honored. And be willing to work hard, because it's hard. Okay. Thank you very much for being here tonight, guys. I feel like we got to say a lot of stuff that I've wanted to say out loud at a camera for a long time.
yeah, let's do it again Wednesday.
Yeah, let's
Yes.
do it again Wednesday. Thanks, Ringo.
Thanks, Ringo. Should I leave?
I don't know. I'm waiting for Ringo to tell me. But he's...
Sorry.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone in the chat and watching this. I'm gonna end this. Lan says thanks. Julie says thanks. If you guys want to say
Shut up,
thanks to
Lan.
specific people.
Hi, Land. Hi, Julie.
Land.
Play a land.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
I'm leaving.
I'm leaving too.
Bye.
Bye.